My family wants to reconnect after 6 years. Okay, so this is a long story and English isn't my first language, so please be patient with me. I'm using fake names here. I'm a 45-year-old guy named Mike. I was married to my high school sweetheart, Sarah, who's also 45. We had 4 daughters together. Jane, who is 24, Tori, who is 22, Brianna, who is 21, and Claire, who is 18. Sarah and I met when we were both just 14 years old. We started dating right away. My parents loved Sarah from the very beginning. She became like the daughter they never had, and they treated her like part of the family. I remember my dad sitting me down and giving me advice about relationships. He would say things like, always have good communication with each other and think before you make any big decisions. It was good advice that I tried to follow. Sarah and I were together for 7 years, dating all through high school and even after we graduated. Then, one day, we found out that she was pregnant with our first daughter, Jane. We were both over the moon with happiness. We decided to get married soon after finding out about the pregnancy, and we went on to have a beautiful family together. However, there was one big problem during all this happiness. My younger brother, Jack, who is 43 now. Jack had always had a crush on Sarah, even when we were in high school. This crush of his caused some tension between us. It was really hard for me because I loved my brother, but I also loved Sarah, and I didn't want anything to come between us. I tried to let it go because Jack was my brother, and Sarah had reassured me many times that she didn't have any feelings for him. But things got really bad when Jack found out that Sarah and I were engaged. Instead of being happy for us, he confessed his love for Sarah and tried to convince her to leave me for him. Sarah, being the wonderful person she is, told me everything. She didn't hide anything from me, and she made it clear that she had no interest in Jack. She loved me and wanted to be with me. When I found out what Jack had done, I was furious. I felt betrayed and hurt. I was ready to confront him and even fight him if I had to. I didn't want him to ruin my happiness with Sarah. I was also ready to cut Jack out of my life completely because I couldn't trust him anymore. But Sarah, being the peacemaker, asked me not to do anything rash. She didn't want to see our family torn apart because of Jack's actions. So I listened to Sarah and tried to move past it. It was really hard, but I wanted to do what was best for our family. Over the years, Sarah and I focused on raising our daughters and building a life together. We faced many challenges, but we always stuck together and supported each other through everything. It took a lot of convincing from Sarah, my parents, my dad, who's 68, and my mom, who's 66, to stop me from cutting my brother, Jack, out of my life. My marriage with Sarah was amazing. Like any other couple, we had our ups and downs, but I wouldn't change anything about it. We were a passionate couple who loved each other and our children more than anything. My relationship with Jack got better after the incident, and I truly believed he had gotten over his crush on Sarah. But I was wrong. Jack still had a crush on Sarah and was planning to break us up. One day, more than 6 years ago, I came home after being away for a week because of work. When I walked in, I found my daughters, my wife, and my brother all in the living room. Sarah and my daughters were crying, and when they saw me, they started screaming at me. Sarah looked at me and asked, "How could you do this to me?" I was confused and asked what she meant. She said, "Cheating." I was shocked. In the 25 years we'd been together, I had never cheated on her. I asked what made her think I had cheated, and she showed me some pictures and texts that supposedly proved I had cheated with a coworker. I asked her where she got this information. My brother Jack jumped in and said that this coworker, who was also his friend, had confessed to him and sent him the proof. I started crying and begged Sarah to believe me. I told her that this was all Jack's doing, but she didn't believe me. She slapped me in the face and kicked me out of the house. Before I left, I was heartbroken and didn't know what to do. I couldn't believe Jack would go this far to try to break up my family. I had to leave, but I was determined to prove my innocence and get my family back. Jane and Tori called me all kinds of hurtful names. The one that hurt the most was when they said, "You are a disgrace to our family." I tried for a long time to make Sarah and the girls see reason. I wanted them to understand that I would never cheat on them. But sadly, it was all in vain. My parents disowned me, and my dad said that if I were a real man, I would make the divorce easy and quick before the end of the year. Eventually, Sarah and I got divorced, and my daughters didn't want to see me anymore. At the beginning of 2017, Sarah married Jack. My daughters sent me a message saying they hated me and didn't want anything to do with me. They said they had a new father figure in their lives now. It was incredibly hard, but with a lot of therapy, I learned to move on. I always held hope that my family would find out the truth, but I learned to live with the possibility that they never would. 5 years went by without any contact with anyone from my family. Then a few days ago, I received a call from an unknown number. When I picked up, I said, "Hello, Who is this? And I heard sobs from the other side. It was my mom. She said that they were sorry and wanted to meet with me. I asked why, and my mom said that my family had found out the truth about everything, but she said this was a matter to be discussed in person. I told my mom that when or if I felt ready to meet them, I would call her. I didn't want to be contacted by anyone until I said something back. She told me she understood and that she missed me. We said our goodbyes, but to be honest, I still don't know what I should do. Now, for the top of comments before reading the update, I'm so sorry. There was a similar post where the sister dragged her, then accused her of cheating Iran to her engagement, and her family kicked her out. It's amazing the lengths the people will go to because of jealousy. What your brother did was evil. If there really is proof of what he did, I hope he can be sued for emotional distress and parental alienation. I can't imagine the damage he's done to your daughters. I would also have your daughter's DNA tested in case there's more to this than just a setup by your brother. I can't imagine how devastating this whole ordeal must have been for you. It really says a lot about your character that you were able to keep your wits about you throughout all of this. I have an underhanded brother myself who just can't allow me to be happy no matter how small a win I get. But he hasn't done anything this massive to me yet. Whatever you decide to do, I am sure you'll choose wisely. The sad part is that my brother was never like this. I truly believed he was happy for me and had moved on knowing he plotted against me. This way it still hurts. I agree with the others. Please only meet with them on the condition that they'll be cutting your brother off. I'm sorry you were framed like this. It takes a certain kind of evilness and jealousy to do this to a family member. Whether or not you decide to meet with them should be entirely up to you. Whatever the case, I hope you're able to find closure at least and heal from this. Wow. I think if it was me, I wouldn't go back. I wouldn't choose a family. They didn't choose me. And if my husband got married and if my sister, I wouldn't even want to touch him anymore. The fact that she really knew he had a crush on her but still chose to believe him instead of you just shows how little trust and love she had for you to just throw it away like that and not even marry out of the family. But in the family with the initial brother who tried to tell her to leave before the wedding. Is she stupid? Can't be that naive, right? I'm sorry you're going through this. All the best and hoping for an update. And now for the updates. Update 1. A few people have asked me for an update, so here it is. So I arrived at my parents' Saturday morning and rang the door and my mom opened. She started crying and hugged me. It was a bit awkward for me. My dad gave me a handshake and I got in. My mom started trying to make small talk. She asked me how I was. She then commented that I looked way better and that I lost weight. I replied, "When you're depressed, you forget to eat." I then asked how they found out. My mom said that Jack was drunk and had an argument with Sarah and something like, "I didn't plan all this so that I would take your shit." Sarah then forced him to confess. Sarah: My daughters wanted to contact me, but my mom said it would be better if it just was her that contacted me. I started laughing. My dad was a little mad and asked me, "What's so funny?" I said that my brother probably spent years trying to separate me and Sarah, and it all blew up. All I had to do was be quiet, and he could continue with his beautiful life. I then asked my parents if they could imagine how would their lives be if they and Sarah didn't try to convince to forgive my brother after he tried to convince Sarah to run with him. My dad started crying. It was the first time in my 45 years of life that I'd seen my old man crying. He started to apologize, saying he was an awful father, but that he, my mom, Sarah, my daughters, were all sorry I was not able to cry. And I told them that I would love to reconcile, but it would take time. My mom asked me if she could give the green light to Sarah to contact me, and I said yes. He then asked more about my life as they wanted to know how I was doing. Overall, it was better than I expected. The next day, Sarah sent me a message and asked me if she could call me. I replied a few hours later that she could not. Even 5 minutes later, she called me. She asked me how I was. I told her that given the circumstances, it could be worse. I asked how she and her daughters were, and she said that they're not so good. After my brother confessed, Sarah, my daughters felt remorseful and kicked my brother out. I answer a few questions. Why did she marry Jack so quickly? And how come she didn't believe me? She started crying. She said that during and after our divorce, my brother had been her rock. Sarah said that they eventually started dating, and they got married because. And I was shocked to hear this. She got pregnant. I was taken aback when I heard it. I asked if she could repeat it, and she did. I told her that I needed time. I warned that the chances of us getting back together are not looking good, and I didn't want her to have false hopes. She cried a bit more, but said that she understood. She ended the conversation with, "I love you. I just said goodbye." Update 2. My mom was the bridge of communication between me and my daughters. I messaged her that I wanted to meet my daughters in a public place, and she recommended a park, and we met yesterday. When I got there, my daughters had already arrived. I only had a few seconds to process seeing them for the first time in more than half of a decade. Because Jane, my 24-year-old, jumped on me. She was crying and kept saying she was sorry and asked me to. Don't hate them. We stayed, hugged for a few minutes. It seemed like she didn't want to let me go. It took Claire, my 18-year-old, to take Jane off of me. Tori, my 22-year-old, asked me how I was. I looked at her for a few seconds. I still was surprised to see how much she had grown in the last few years. But I also kind of saw the last 6 years flashing through my eyes. For a while after the divorce, I just looked at pictures of me, Sarah, and the girls together, and remembering the good old days, and started wondering if living was still worth it. After a few seconds, I told Tori that I had gotten a cat. I said that he was a great cat, my best friend, and if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here speaking to her. As soon as I said this, all my daughters started crying. I was looking at them, crying on the inside, but somehow still able to maintain my posture. They all said that they were sorry for not believing me and begged me to forgive them. I told them that I loved them more than anything, but it would take me time to truly forgive them, and that they would have to show me by their actions and not their words how sorry they were. I noticed Jane was wearing a ring. I asked her about it. She told me that she had gotten married to her longtime boyfriend 2 years ago. At this point, I was about to burst into tears knowing that I had missed my daughter's wedding. I just asked if he walked down the aisle, and she quietly said yes. I just couldn't do it anymore and started crying my heart out. I had to sit down that a hole stole everything that I held dear and robbed me of one of the moments I was longing the most for walking my daughter down the aisle. I was ugly, crying, and I could tell that Jane was sad as well. I told her that I would get over it and not to worry about it. She just hugged me again silently. We stayed like that for what seemed a long time. After we broke off the hug, Jane said that she was sorry, once again. I told my daughters that I needed a few days, but I would love to go on family therapy with them, and they agreed. Me and my daughters are catching up about each other's lives, and it felt good to have a normal conversation with them. They gave me their phone numbers, we sent her goodbyes, and I hugged every single one of them tightly, for a long time. Update 3. I would like to start by thanking everyone for their support. A user has been messaging me, and his input on my situation has been very helpful. I explained to him that Jack was always praised by our parents due to his grades and was somewhat always competitive. This user believed that my brother could be a narcissist and saw Sarah and my daughters as trophies. Me and my daughters attended therapy last Saturday. I got in first and explained to the therapist my concerns about Jack being a narcissist. She told me my concerns could be right, but it was not certain. My therapy session was a bit emotional, but good. I started by explaining how I felt during all this time, how many nights I cried missing Sarah and the girls, how I had nightmares, and how hard it all was for me. My daughters did talk, but it was not easy to understand their words. They were crying the whole time, and it got worse as time went by to the point that I had to calm them down and reassure that I was not mad at them. The session ended, and we will attend our second session next Friday. Although I still don't know what will happen, I'm hopeful I can rebuild my relationship with my girls. I also had dinner with my daughters on Tuesday. It went good, and they had the chance to meet my cat, and they brought a copy of pictures of us. It was a nice gift. Story 2. Wife, she added while on work trip. I never expected this from her. My wife, 39, female, and I, 43, male, have been together for 11 years, married for 6. We have a toddler. 5 days ago, I learned of a month-long EEA between my wife and a coworker of hers, and that they had spent time in her hotel room while on a work trip 2 weeks prior. And that time together included a good amount of kissing. I learned this by the affair. Partners' wives, mother, the affair partners. Mother-in-law messaging me on Facebook with 15 screenshots of their Instagram conversation that occurred during that work trip, including comments between the two of them reminiscing about their chair time, along with loads of kissy face emojis and other flirtatious banter. When I read the mother-in-law's initial Facebook message, I was shaking, heart-racing, tunnel-visioned. My wife was upstairs, so when she came down, I immediately asked if anything happened during the work trip that I should know about. I learned here that the term is known as trickle truth. Denials of anything that happened was the response. Eventually, after 10 minutes, she finally admitted to getting drunk at the hotel bar and making out with him in her room. I asked her point blank if she slept with him, or if anything sexual happened. Her response was a resounding no. She proceeded to tell me that there was no sexual touching, no hands-up shirts, no parts exposed, no feeling up, no erections felt, just kissing for an extended period of time while sitting in a chair. This is what she's told me multiple times. Well, it started at the doorway with him initiating. Then they went to the chair. She ended up getting sick and spent time on the floor, bathroom, and on the bed while he lay on the other side of the king-size bed until 6:30 a.m. the next night on their work trip in a different town. It was a two-night thing. He spent time in her hotel room until 10 p.m. or so. The text message there was him asking if she could use company, and her response was something like, "You can join," and she was watching TV. Some kissing also occurred that night while she was sober. My wife has had an alcohol problem for many years and had been sober for almost 6 years before this work trip. She and I had a discussion about her desire to bring alcohol back into her life on a very limited basis during date nights or going away with me. Also included discussion about her having beverages with her work peers when they go on these quarterly trips. I obviously disagreed with the suggestion, as did almost everyone in the alcoholism sub, but she did it anyway. She lied to me about how much she had to drink that night and ended up telling me that she had multiple drinks, including 2 shots of the hotel bar with her work peers. So after 6 years, this is the first time that she was drunk. And then, this happens. Back to the EA, I learned that the flirting banter and whatever else has been going on since early October, so I'm told. I asked my wife why she did what she did. If, as she says, our marriage is solid, and yeah, it is. We have a child together. We don't really argue about anything, and we have a good home life. Our intimacy has dwindled since having her child 2 years ago. But the bedroom isn't dead, after some time for her to really think about her actions. The response that I got was that it was the excitement, the newness, and the feeling of being desired along with him just being a great work friend. After more deeper discussions around this line of thinking, she mentioned that it likely would never have gotten sexual. I had asked multiple times how far this would have gone if I and the AP spouse had not learned of this. She concluded that what she enjoyed from it was having him crawl out of his skin, as she puts it, basically obtaining some pleasure over being desirable and wanted. That would likely never resolved by a sexual relationship. She explained to me repeatedly that she does not feel any romantic or intimate feelings for this guy and that it just happened. She admitted it was selfish and wrong. I told her what hurt me the most was the betrayal and the secrecy. I had so much anxiety and lost sleep when she went on her work trip because of her flawed relationship with alcohol. And little did I know that that was the least of my worries. "You just have to trust me, babe," was a text that I was sent the morning after. When I asked her about how much she had to drink the previous night, I never would have expected her to do this, though. Regarding the affair partner and his wife, I learned that this isn't the first time he's done this in his 7 years of marriage, and that she did go through his Instagram chats on another device. Actually seeing the combos live as they occurred, because she had an inkling something would happen while he was away for his work trip. I've been in contact with her through text, and she has a very pleasant but hurt woman who will likely file for divorce. It's obvious, though, that he just doesn't care what hurt he causes her, or what he has allowed to cause others. So for me, I have very conflicting feelings about her short-lived affair, and what may come out of this. Since the D-Day, I felt extreme hurt, then anger, then forgiving, then anger again. And at times when I feel fine, I'm afraid I'm coming off as a pushover for showing my wife that she can get away with this again. There will be traveling again come January, and I don't know what to do about that. Anyway, this incident has triggered some real deep and open discussions with my wife about desire, intimacy, and what she and I want. It first started with me trying to understand what she was seeking or what she felt was missing from her life, and if there was anything we could do together to bring some excitement or feeling of newness into our marriage without the secrecy and betrayal. We aren't explicitly talking about opening the marriage, but she has expressed that she would be fine and would encourage me to have a person at work I could banter with and potentially kiss. I don't know. It's weird to me right now. Is this her way of giving me a pass? Or even saying that she wants an open marriage but doesn't want to really admit it yet to me? Or herself? Divorce right now is not on the table. And I know an open marriage with boundaries of some sort really isn't the best solution for something like this. And I realize that shouldn't even be discussed or even considered unless the marriage is truly solid. Thanks for reading my disorganized thoughts. Your input is welcome. Now for some additional comments. She's offering you a pass because they definitely had sex and probably have been in full-blown affair for much longer than just that trip. Open marriages that open because of infidelity do not work. You need to stand up for yourself and set boundaries in place for how recovery should take place. There is 0% chance that this is just an emotional affair and some kissing. Don't kid yourself. You don't have a month-long affair as adults and not sleep together, let alone when you're on a work trip. Her getting sick is as believable as other cheaters, saying the guy couldn't get it up, or that they realized what was going on moments before that they had sex, etc. She's telling you the bare minimum and sugarcoating the truth. It's obvious you're just too invested to see it. It's probably why she's suggesting an open relationship. She probably feels guilty and thinks this would lessen her betrayal. Leaving is easier if you stay together. Don't open things up. It's nearly as bad as having a baby to save the marriage. Sure, you'll get a confidence boost, but the problem was never with other women. It's her. Eventually, after 10 minutes, she finally admitted to getting drunk at the hotel bar and making out with him in her room. I asked her point blank if she slept with him or if anything sexual happened. The response was a resounding no. She proceeded to tell me that there was no sexual touching, no hands-up shirts, no parts exposed, no feeling up, no erections felt, just kissing for an extended period of time while sitting in a chair. Teenagers kiss, adults screw, especially with a serial cheater. Involve the affair partner, multiple affairs according to his boss, and he's going to be satisfied with just kissing. Highly doubtful. I'd bet real money. The trickle of truth isn't exhausted. We aren't explicitly talking about opening the marriage, but she has expressed that she would be fine and would encourage me to have a person at work I could banter with and potentially kiss. I don't know. It's weird to me right now. Is this her way of giving me a pass or even saying that she wants an open marriage, but doesn't want to really admit it yet to me or herself? This is her hoping that you take up the offer to sewage, her guilt for already doing so. It also further confirms to me that they had sex. Check your cell phone records to find out the frequency which they communicated over voice and text. Those records can't be faked or deleted, but you won't get content. I'd be very surprised if it isn't much greater than she's admitting to. Story 3. Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my wife's family anymore? I, 34M, got married 9 years ago to my wife Jessica, 33F. Jessica and I have 2 children, Robin, 7F, and Theo, 5M. Growing up, I didn't have a family. I was a foster kid who was bounced around a lot because sometimes my bio mother would take me back, but she'd always end up losing custody again or placing me back. When she finally stopped trying, I was 11 and too old for most people who wanted babies or really little kids, so I aged out of the system without being adopted or finding a family. I'd hoped when Jessica and I met that I'd be welcomed by her family, but that's not how it went. Took me years to figure it out though. They look down on me. They're not totally obvious about it, but I see it in the way they are with me versus the way they're with the other sons' daughters-in-law. Like asking them about Christmas plans, but saying they didn't expect us to do anything else because I don't have a family. Or asking about the others' jobs and promotions, but never me. Then acting so shocked both times Jessica or I mentioned I was promoted. There was a time when my CIL mentioned a foster kid who won a scholarship to college, and it made it into the local news. The whole family's reaction was, "Oh wow, a foster kid making it to college is so unexpected." And Jessica pointed out I went to college. They looked a little uncomfortable, and I heard 2 of her siblings whisper something about Jessica in that story, so I assumed they believed she lied about where we met. They don't make an effort for my birthday. They make assumptions that I don't spend time with my kids. They assume any effort made by me is me doing it for Jessica, and don't believe me when I say it's not. Yet, they will always ask for my help with repairs around the house or assembling something, because I'm good at that stuff. I have helped Jessica's parents and all her siblings at least twice. Once I realized, with help from therapy, that they really didn't like me and seemed to think less of me for being a foster kid, I did that stuff for Jessica and not for them. But then, a few weeks ago, Jessica's parents had issues with the stairs. I went and fixed them up. I was hours working on one part and had to go and get extra materials. It was a whole thing. Some of the family came over while I was there and Jessica's parents made food for them, but nothing for me. When I asked them if there was any for me, they told me they didn't think I'd want to eat after working so hard, for hours, with no food in between. I told them they didn't think that. They simply didn't want to be polite to me and offer food after doing all that work for them. I was called out by Jessica's parents and her siblings. Jessica took my side, as did some of the siblings' spouses. But I was called out again for not helping fix a shelf for one of Jessica's sisters, and saying never again would I help any of them. They said family helps family. I asked them when they ever treat me like family. Am I the a-hole?